Right. Good evening, ඉස්ලා හැමෝටම පොය දවසේ පාන්සල් ගිහිම ගිහිල්ලා ඇවිල්ලා නේද? එතකොට ඩියුටි තියෙනවා නම් ඒවා කරලා ඉවර කරලා ඔන්න නිදහසේ ඉන්න වෙලාවේ පොඩ්ඩක් මේ පැත්තට ඔන්න ආවා අපේ වැඩේ ගැන පොඩ්ඩක් ආපහු මතක් කරන්න සහ කතා කරන්න. හරි? Right. So warmly welcome you all for the fourth section of this training program. So ideally we're just focusing on to the caregiving and the nursing interview that you're going to face one day, right? Maybe in near future, maybe after 2 or 3 months, fine. Okay. So however, if you want to move for another foreign country as a nursing officer, if not as a caregiver, so then you must face for an interview. Fine. So it's our task for you. I mean, yes, it's our task for you to give some information that is related for this interview program. And so far, we have discussed many points, many facts about these caregiving positions and preparing for this interview, and also the dress codes and how we have to initially get ready for this type of interviews and all, right? So today I'm moving for another separate section, right? Hi. Right. If I ask this question from you, what is my question, right? So the question is, why did you thought, yes, why you decided that you are going to be a nursing officer? ඇයි ඔබ නර්ස් කෙනෙක් වෙන්න එහෙම නැතිනම් caregiver කෙනෙක් වෙන්න හිතුවේ? What influence? නේද? එහෙම විදියට එක එක විදියට මේ question එක අහන්න පුළුවන්. What influence that you have had to become a caregiver? අපි හිතමුකෝ caregiver යන කෙනෙක් නම් කියලා. එහෙම නැතිනම් ඒ ප්‍රශ්නෙම ඒ question එකම නර්ස් කෙනෙක්ගෙන් උනත් අහන්න පුළුවන්. ඔයා නර්ස් කෙනෙක් වෙන්න, caregiver කෙනෙක් වෙන්න පෙළඹෙව්ව කරුණු කාරණා මොනවද? ඇයි ඔයාට මේ ප්‍රොෆෙෂන් එක මොකද ලංකාවේ නැත්නම් ලෝකයේ තියෙන නෝබල් එක ප්‍රොෆෙෂන් එකක් තමයි නර්සින් කියලා කියන්නේ. නමුත් තව ගොඩාක් දේවල් තියෙනවානේ. එක ප්‍රොෆෙෂන්ස් තියෙනවා, ටීචින් තියෙනවා, ඉන්ජිනියරින් සයිඩ් එක තියෙනවා. එතකොට එතනින් ගියාම නේද ඩොක්ටර් කෙනෙක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, ඒ සයිඩ් එකට යන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ මෙඩිසින්ස් ෆැකල්ටි එකම ගත්තාම එතනත් තව සෙක්ෂන්ස් වලට බෙදනවානේ. ෆාමසිස්ට්ලා ඉන්නවා, එතකොට වෙට්ස්ලා ඉන්නවා. එතකොට නේද එක එක ඩොක්ටර්ස්ලා වර්ග ඉන්නවා. එතකොට නර්සස්ලාගෙත් එක එක කැටගරිස් ඉන්නවා. So why did you thought that you are going to become a nurse? What influence was there? Right? So if you are going to answer for this question, what would be your answer? මොන වගේ question මොන වගේ answer එකක් ඔයාලගේ මේ question එකට උත්තරේ විදිහට ලබා දෙයිද කියලා මට නිකන් පොඩක් කල්පනා වුණා. ඒක කල්පනා කරනකොට මට හිතුණා මෙන්න මෙහෙම support එකක් ඕගොල්ලන්ට දුන්නොත් හොඳයි අද කියලා, right? දැන් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ඔයගොල්ලන් දන්නවා අපෙන් එක එක වර්ගවල questions අහනවා. මම ඔය කිව්වා වගේ එක එක situations අපෙන් අහනවා. ඒතකොට අපි අපේ story එකක් වගේනේ අපි අපේ කතාව කියන්න ඕනේ. නේ? ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයා nurse කෙනෙක් වෙන්න හිතුවේ ඇයි? ඔයා caregiver කෙනෙක් වෙන්න හිතුවේ ඇයි? ඒතකොට ඔයාගේ life story එකෙන් තමයි අරන් කියන්නේ, right? මෙන්න මෙහෙම දෙයක් සිද්ධ වුණා. එතකොට තමයි එතනින් පස්සේ තමයි මම තීරණය කළේ නෑ මම ටීචර් කෙනෙක් වෙන්නේ නෑ මම මෙයා වෙන්නේ නෑ මම අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම නර්ස් කෙනෙක් තමයි වෙන්නේ. So there's a story behind us. නේ always අපේ ජීවිත කතාව කියලා කිව්වොත් එහෙම නේද අපේ career එක දැන් වෙනකොට තීරණය වෙලා තියෙනවා නම් ඒ තීරණය වෙන්න බලපාපු story එකක් තියෙනවා. So they are asking the story based questions from us. The situation based questions අපෙන් ගන්න. So previously we talked about how to answer for the kind of personal questions, some simple questions, right? So now today we are focusing for the situation based questions. එක situations මේ අවස්ථාව සිද්ධ වුණොත් ඔයා මොකක්ද කරන්නේ? right okay පොඩි දේවල් අපි last weeks වලත් කතා කරා. නමුත් අද මේක in detail අපි කතා කරන්න යන්නේ ඔයාලට මොනවා හරි situation එකක් explain කරන්න. එහෙම නැතිනම් මොනවා හරි story එකක් වාගේ life story එක වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැතිනම් යම්කිසි අවස්ථාවක හැසිරෙන විදිය ඔයා මොන වගේ දෙයක් කරයිද කියලා අහන්න පුළුවන්. සමහර වෙලාවට ඒගොල්ලන් අපෙන් අහන්න පුළුවන් right මේ වගේ දෙයක් සිද්ධ වුණොතින් ඔයා කලින් ඔයාට ෆේස් කරන්න වෙලා සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන දේවල් මොනවද කියලා අහන්න පුළුවන් right. ඔන්න ඔය වගේ දේවල්. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට අර ටිකක් කතාව වගේ ආන්සර් එකක් දෙනකොට අපිට උදව් කරන වචන ටිකක් තියෙනවා right. ඒ නිසා ඉස්සල්ලාම අපි questions and answers වලට නෙමෙයි මම හිතුවා පොඩි මෙන්න මේ words වලට අපේ මේ speaking එක නැත්තම් අපේ මේ interview එකට අදාළ කරන මෙන්න මේ වගේ questions. ඒ කියන්නේ scenario based questions අපි කියනවා. scenario based questions වලට answer කරනකොට අපිට වැඩිපුරම උදව් උපකාරී කරන වචන set එකක් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් මම හිතුවා ඇයි මම මේ පැත්ත ටිකක් කතා කරන්න නැත්තේ කියලා. දැන් අපි ඉන්ටර්විව් එකට ෆේස් කරන විදියට ගොඩාක් දේවල් කතා කරා වගේම මේ පැත්තත් අපි චුට්ටක් කතා කරොත් හොඳයිනේ. එහෙම කියලා මට හිතුණා මම හිතනවා ඒක good idea එකක් කියලා. So what do you think about that one? Is it better option? Do you like to know more about those words? So I'm going to give a help for your grammar. right අපි කිව්ව grammar කියලා ව්‍යාකරණ කියලා කිව්වොත් එහෙම ඒ කොටසට තමයි මේ වචන කොටාසේ යන්නේ මම හිතනවා මම කියපු දේ පැහැදිලි ඇති කියලා මම ආයෙත් explain කරන්න මොකද දැන් අලුතෙන් ආපහු join වෙන කට්ටිය ඉන්නනේ still it seems that the people are joining still to the section right කට්ටිය තාම join වෙන ගමන් ඉන්න නිසා මම ආපහු පැහැදිලි කරන්න මොකක්ද අපි අද දවසේ කරන්නේ focus කරන්න කියලා right දැන් මේ දවස් ටිකම අපි ගොඩක් මේ ફોકસ කරේ නැත්නම් අපේ ප්‍රධාන අවධානය නැත්නම් අපේ attention එක දුන්නේ අපි questions වලට answer කරන්නේ කොහොමද answer කරන්න කලින් මොන වගේ දේවල්ද කරගන්න ඕනේ connection බලා ගන්න ඕනේ zoom එක check කරලා බලන්න ඕනේ අඳින්න පළඳින්න ඕනේ මොනවද කොයි වගේ personality එකක්ද පෙන්වන්න ඕනේ මොන වගේ question types අහන්නේ කොහොමද අපි positive වෙලා මේවට questions වලට answer කරන්නේ ওই දේවල් තමයි මේ දවස් ටිකම අපි කතා කරේ නේ දැන් අපි අද 4th section එකට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන 4th training program එකට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. එතකොට අද දවස වෙනකොට අපි ගොඩක් දේවල් කතා කරලා තියෙන නිසා මම හිතුවා ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මේ එක type of questions වලට යනකොට now we already discuss about the personal questions. Personally අපෙන් අහන questions වලට මොන වගේ උත්තර දෙයිද කියන එක අපි පොඩක් කතා කරා. ඉතින් අපි දැන් මේ ටික කාලයක් මෙතන වැය කරන නිසා මොනවා හරි ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ දැනුමට දෙයක් එකතු කරගන්න පුළුවන් නම් so I thought that why I don't take that step. Right? So, මම අද උගන්වන්න නැත්තම් මම අද ඔයගලන්ට කතා කරන්න යන්නේ. නේද? උගන්වන්න කියන වචන අපි පැත්තකට දාමුකෝ අපි කතා කරන්න යන්නේ. අපි ඩිස්කස් කරන්න යන්නේ මේ scenario based questions වලට උත්තර දෙනකොට answers දෙනකොට නම් මෙතන ඉන්න පුළුවන් IELTS එහෙම නැත්නම් OET exam එකේ speaking වලට හොඳ result එකක් දාලා තියෙන අය ඉන්න පුළුවන් මෙතන. නමුත් එහෙම නැති කට්ටියත් ඉන්නවා. එතකොට දෙගොල්ලන්ටම උදව් වෙයි මම මේ කියලා දෙන්න යන වචන ටික ගැන. එතකොට scenario based questions වලට answer කරනකොට එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි කතාවක් වගේ නේද? උත්තර දෙනකොට අපිට ඕන කරන වචන වර්ගය. අන්නේ specific words ටික ගැන තමයි මම අද ඔයාලත් එක්ක කතා කරන්න යන්නේ. right දැන් ඔයාලා බලලා මොකද්ද මේ කියන කියලා. right ඔක මම මගේ presentation එකක් මම ලස්සනට හදාගත්තා. right පිළිවෙලට ටිකක් හදාගත්තා. ඒකට යන්න කලින් මම පොඩි introduction එකක් දෙන්න මොනවද මේ words කියන එකනේ. right හරි. අපි share කරන්නම් මම screen එක. right okay දැන් ඔය දවසේ නිවිසනසෙල්ල ගෙදර ඉන්න වෙලාවේ ඔන්න උගලන් ගෙදවල් වල පොඩි ඉගෙන ගන්න කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා නම් ඒගොල්ලන්වත් ළඟට අඬ ගහ ගන්න මොකද මේ කියලා දෙන්න යන ටික ඒගොල්ලන්ටත් මං හිතනවා වැදගත් කියලා. ඔයාලට මේ caregiver interview යන කට්ටියට විතරක් නෙමෙයි අනිත් කට්ටියටත් මං හිතනවා ටිකක් වැදගත් පාඩමක් කියලා. right okay so I'm going to share my screen but ඔයගොල්ලන් mute කරගමු අපේ mics ටික. right ඔන්න ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පේනවා. yes right ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පේනවා මම පොඩි කතන්දරයක් මෙතනට අරගෙන තියෙනවා. okay Right. Okay. So you all can see my story. Right. මොකක්ද අපි බලමු පොඩ්ඩක් මේ ස්ටෝරි එක මොකක්ද කියලා. දැන් ඔයාලා හිතයි දැන් සමහර එකපාරට ජොයින් වෙනකොට බලයි මොකක්ද යකෝ අද මම මේ හරි එකට නෙමෙයිද ජොයින් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා නේ. ඔයාලා හරි දෙයට තමයි ජොයින් උනේ. මං කියන්නම් කොහොමද මේ වචන අපිට උදව් කරන්නේ කියලා. Right. So now on the screen you all can see there's a story. Right. So a conference in Chicago. Now this is actually a story. Right. So you see the story. Now, and here in this story, you can see some words are highlighted. Yeah, you all can see some of the words are highlighted and others are not. Mute our mic first. All right. Right, honey. Right. So you can see there are some words are highlighted here. So last week, while I was there, to start off, next, unexpectedly, as soon as, during, after, finally, I arrived. Right? So that's the end of the story. Right. So now, do you have an idea about these highlighted words? So that's my first question. If you know these words, please send me a message to the chat box. Right. These words are known as like this. If you know, right. And also if you know why I'm going to do these words, right? What is the main intention of doing or just having an idea of these words? The highlighted words, right? Yes, we are going to pay our more attention towards these highlighted words, not for the other stories and all. Yeah, but I thought that the words have to be come with the story, so then you can understand well, right? So do you have an idea about these words? කවුට හරි අදහසක් තියෙනවද මේ වචන මොනවද කියලා? මේ අර බෝල්ඩ් කරලා තියෙන වචන ටිකක් තියෙන්නේ. ටිකක් කද කළු පාටෙන් තියෙන වචන ටිකක් තියෙන්නේ. මේ මොනවද මේ words? Any idea you have? හරියන්න හෝ වරදින්න කොහොම මොනරි කමක් නැහැ. ඔයාලට තේරෙන විදියට මං හිතන්නේ මේවා. මං හිතන්නේ මෙහෙම. මොකද ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කැමති නමක් දෙන්නකෝ බලන්න. If you know. So we are doing this class for your benefits. So then you can learn many things from this one, right? සමහර වෙලාවට කියනනේ මොනවා හරි දෙයක් නිකම් දෙනකොට අපිට කිසිම දෙනෙක්ට අගේ නැහැ කියලා. නමුත් මම හිතනවා ඕගොල්ලන්ට මොනවා හරි දෙයක් මේකෙන් ඉගෙන ගන්න පුළුවන් කියලා නේද? Yes. Right. Very good. ඔන්න අපිට එක්කෙනෙක් කියනවා yes. So she's saying that these are conjunctions. Very good. Conjunctions, and the other one is saying linking words. Very good. Yes. So both of you to some extent these are correct, right? Conjunctions are linking words. So for example, yes. So these are some kind of linking devices or linking words. So why I'm going to focus on to these words. Now, first of all, I told when you're being asked some interview questions to tell some type of, now when you're answering for some questions that is based on scenarios. නේද? scenario based වෙච්ච questions වලට answer කරනකොට ගොඩාක් වෙලාවට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට right මම මේ ඉස්සල්ලාම මේ දේ කරනවා ඊට පස්සේ මෙහෙම කරනවා ඊට පස්සේ මෙහෙම කරනවා අන්තිමට මම මේ වගේ decision එකක් තමයි ගන්න මෙහෙම තමයි උනේ මෙහෙම තමයි මම කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ එතකොට ඔය වගේ answer එකක් දෙනකොට සහ මේක මේ interview එකට විතරක් නෙමෙයි caregiver interview nursing interview වලට විතරක්ම නෙමෙයි in day to day everyday conversations වලට උනත් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මෙන්න මේ කියන words ටික හරිම important. So for these words actually we call connectors. Connect කරන වචන වලට කියනවා අපි connectors කියලා, right? So now today I'm going to spend more of our time to discuss these words, and also I will show you some examples where we all can use these words in a interview questions. So then you can have an idea. So sometimes අපිට ගොඩක් වෙලාට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න තමයි අපි ඉතේ අපිට ප්‍රශ්නය තේරෙනවා සහ අපිට උත්තරයක් තියෙනවා. ඒ උත්තරේ ගලපගෙන යනකොට අපිට සමහර වෙලාවට අපේ අදහස් එකින් එකට ගලප ගන්න බැරි අපහසුතා තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. So for that one I'm going to give the tracks. All right. So now here in the story, I will tell the story. I'll read this one. Last week, I visited Chicago to attend a business conference. While I was there, I decided to visit the Art Institute of Chicago. To start off, my flight was delayed. Next, the airline lost my luggage, so I had to wait for 2 hours at the airport while they tracked down. Unexpectedly, the luggage had been set aside and forgotten. As soon as I found my luggage, I found a taxi and rode into the town. During the ride into town, the driver told me about his last visit to the Art Institute. After I had arrived safely, everything began to go smoothly. The business conference was very interesting and I thoroughly enjoyed my visit to the institute. Finally, I caught my flight back to Seattle. Luckily, everything went smoothly. I arrived home just in time to kiss my daughter goodnight. Right. So whenever we are giving an answer for a situation-based questions, we need these connectors to use. Otherwise, if you don't use these words correctly, the flow of your speaking, the meaning will not be communicated smoothly to the listener. All right, so that's why we are going to focus onto these words today. And now you'll see some of these words. Right, okay. So here some things are there. So to story. Now, you're not just saying stories in the interview, but you know that when you're starting something, when you're just starting something to tell for another person, so we can use these type of words. First of all, to start off with, initially, to begin with. So these are some of the examples where you can use to start your story. ඔයාගේ story එක ඔයාගේ situation එක right ඉස්සල්ලාම මම මෙහෙමයි කරන්නේ කියන අදහස දෙන්න අපිට පුළුවන් මෙන්න මේ words පාවිච්චි කරන්න. So you can see some examples here. To begin with, education in London. All right. So for example, we'll think අපි හිතමු උදාහරණයකට interview එකේදී ඔයගොල්ලන්ගෙන් question එකක් අහනවා ඔයා කොහොමද nurse කෙනෙක් වෙන්න කොතනින්ද පටන් ගත්තේ? Right. Okay. දැන් ඒ story එක කියන්න පටන් ගන්නකොට උනත් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පුළුවන් මේ words පාවිච්චි කරන්න. To start off, initially I thought I would become a doctor. But then after that, so then you can just move on to your sentences. To begin with, actually, I didn't thought that I would become a nurse in my childhood. But after that, likewise, you can start off your sentences. First of all, I thought that I have the capability of being a nurse when I'm treating for my grandparents when they are ill. Likewise, you can start up your story. නේ වාගේ කතාව කියන්න පටන් ගන්න තැන. නේද? එහෙම නැතිනම් සමහර scenario based questions එකන යම්කිසි සිද්ධියක් සිද්ධ වුණොත් එහෙම ඔයා මොකද කරන්නේ? එතකොට අපිට කියන්න බෑ right. Okay. So first of all, I'll check whether the patient is convenient. Yeah, එහෙම අපිට පටන් ගන්න පුළුවන්. So when you're starting something, මොනවා හරි කියන්න start කරනකොටම so you can start with these type of words. So again, first of all, to start off, initially, to begin with. Now this is just a general idea and I'll show you further words. මීට වඩා තව ලස්සන වචන තියෙනවා. ඒ words වම ඊළඟට මගේ presentation එකත් එක්ක මම ඔයගොල්ලත් එක්ක බෙදා ගන්න යනවා. මේක පොඩි start එකක් විදියට ඔයගොල්ලන් කලුටරන් right මේක අපිට මෙහෙම කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. Okay? Right. So to start your story or to start your type of your answer, you all can use these type of words. So that's very easy. Maybe you're very familiar about these words as well right now. But there may be some of the students who don't know about these words. So then you can just remind all of them. Right. Okay. So continue the story. Now here the story means actually, oh my God. Right. Here the story means story කියන එක අපි adapt කරගමු අපේ interview questions වලට දෙන answers කියන එක, right? So whenever you're continuing your story, you can continue with these type of words. මොනවාද? Then, after that, next, ඊට පස්සේ කියන එක අපි ගොඩාක් වෙලාවට පාවිච්චි කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ මම මෙහෙම කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ මට මෙහෙම වුණා. ඊට පස්සේ මම මේ දේවල් කරන්න පෙළඹුණා. I was influenced. නේද? I was persuaded by my parents after that, after doing A levels, after engage in my higher education, I was influenced to follow bio subjects, likewise whatever you can talk. Okay, right? So then after that, next, as soon as, but then, immediately. So we all can use these type of words at the middle of our story to join our sentences together. Now remember, when you're giving answers, actually in an interview also, you have to refer. When you're referring something, some kind of an incident that happened in the past, remember to use a past simple for those type of sentences. Fine. Now they are not checking your grammar and the other parts, but because now you have to do your IELTS exam, if not the OET exam. So from there, you're just proving this one. But when it comes for the interview also, it's better to have a good communication skill. So to have a good communication, so you have to be thoroughly know about these words. right? අපි අර OET වල questions වලට answer කරනකොට නැත්නම් IELTS වලට speaking එකේ answer කරනකොට අපි වෙන වෙන වචන වෙන වෙන දේවල් පාවිච්චි කරලා අපි ලොකුවට පෙන්නනවා. නමුත් මෙතන අපේ questions වලට answer කරනකොට we need these type of words generally. That's why I thought it will more convenient, more comfortable, more important for yourself. So you can see some of the examples, but these sentences are not related for your interview questions, but generally you can understand the purpose of these words, isn't it? So then I started to get worried. So that's a kind of a bit, there's a bit equivalent, bit just you can relate it for your interview questions. Then I started to get worried. So if you are worrying about a patient, if you're worried about a patient after a kind of an incident, so then you can tell. Then I started to get worried about that patient. Right. After that, we knew that there would be no problem. Next, we decided on our strategy. As soon as we arrived, we unpacked the bags. We were sure everything was ready, but then we discussed some unexpected problems. Immediately, I telephoned my friend Tom. So these words, you've been familiar with these words, I know, but just remind, right? Okay. So when you're giving answers for the interview as well, you can use this type of words. So remember again, then after that, next, soon as, but then, immediately. There's no any type of a sequencing order of using these words. Now, for example, we have sequencing words like firstly, secondly, thirdly. We have an order of using the words. But for these type of words, there's not any order. Whatever you prefer to tell, then ඊට පස්සේ කියන අර්ථයට මේ ඕන වචනයක් පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. but then කියලා කිව්වම නමුත් ඊට පස්සේ කියන එක නමුත් පස්සේ. So පොඩි contradiction එකක් තියෙනවා. And I will focus on to මම මේ වචන දැන් මෙහෙම commonly කතා කරාට later on I'm going to divide these words into different parts according to their intention, according to their functions. එක වචනවල function එක අනුව මම මේ වචන ටික ඊළඟට බෙදන්න යනවා. එතකොට ඕගොල්ලන්ට ගොඩක් ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ vocabulary එක improve කරගන්න පුළුවන් මේ interview වලට face කරන්න යනකොට. Fine. So then after that, next, as soon as නේ යම්කිසි දෙයක් සිද්ධ වෙච්ච වහම, as soon as the patient was fallen down, I called 911 or 119, right? As soon as so these words really help us to improve our communication, right? Okay. So then after that, interruptions and adding new elements to the story. It means what? Interruptions suddenly එකපාරටම යම්කිසි දෙයක් සිද්ධ වෙනකොට එකපාරටම මොකක්ද උනේ? So I was treating for a patient, but unfortunately, not unfortunately, I was treating for a patient. Suddenly, I got a sound, heard a sound. unexpectedly බලාපොරොත්තු නොවුණු විදියට unexpectedly සමහර වෙලාවට ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ questions අහනවානේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ ready වෙලා හිටපු නැති විදිහේ යම්කිසි incident එකක් සිද්ධ වුණොත් ඔබ මොන වගේ එහෙම experience එකක් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට තියෙනවද මොන වගේ විදිහටද ඔය හැසිරුනේ ඔය බලාපොරොත්තු නොවන විදිහේ incident එකක් වුණාම කොහොමද උනේ so then when you answering for that type of questions you can take examples from your previous experiences so in that case you can use these words suddenly or unexpectedly. Fine, right? So you can see some examples. Suddenly, a child bursts into a room with a note for Miss Smith. Unexpectedly, the people in the room didn't agree with the mayor. Right? So unexpectedly, the patient was not much. Unexpectedly, the patient was not convenient to have a communication with me. So I need to take some steps for that one. සමහර වෙලාවට එකපාරටම patient කෙනෙක් ඔයාව පිළි නොගත්ත වෙලාවක ඔයා කොයි වගේ විදියටද හැසිරුනේ. So that's an unexpectedly, right? So then you can discuss these points with. All right. Okay. So ending the story, like finally, in the end, eventually, likewise, you can talk about these points. Events occurring at the same time. Again, එකම වෙලාවේ නේද එකම වෙලාවේ කියන්නේ එකම වෙලාවේ කර්තව්‍යයන් දෙකක් සිද්ධ වෙනවා නම් while I was treating to the patient something has bad happened so then you can use the word while okay right and then so you can see some examples while I was giving the presentation a member of the audience asked an interesting question right so for an example shall we make a sentence with the use of while isn't it I think it's a good idea. So you can see the structure of using while, the word while. Here you can see the structure of the sentence while. Now you can see the word while is in the beginning of the sentence here. While I was giving the presentation, remember using the word while in a sentence. මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? while වලට පස්සේ හැම වෙලේම past continuous එහෙම නැතිනම් present continuous වාක්‍යයක් තමයි එන්නේ while I was doing something ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අපි යම් කිසි දෙයක් කරමින් සිටිය අතරතුර දෙයක් වුණා කියලා කියනකොට නේ while I was treating for a patient while I was treating for a critical patient අමාරු ලෙඩෙකුට මම බෙහෙත් දෙදී ඉන්නකොට නැත්නම් යාව බලා ගනිමින් ඉන්නකොට මම treat කර ඉන්නකොට something happen. So, ilange sentence ekata pena a member of the audience asked an interesting question. Right? Remember, if you are using the word while to join two sentences to then while lavi පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ එකම වෙලාවෙ incidents දෙකක් වුණා කියලා කියන්නේ. එතකොට අපිට තියෙන long action එකකුයි short action එකකුයි. Right? I think maybe you're familiar with this grammar. I mean, like with this sentence pattern, but for some people, yes, ඒගොල්ලන් ප්‍රශ්න දෙන්න පුළුවන්. So that's why I'm just explaining this. While පාවිච්චි කරනකොට while කියන word එක follow කරන්න. නැත්නම් while කියන word එකට immediately යාත් එක්ක ඉන්න ඕනේ. අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම continuous එකක්. ඒක තමයි long action එක. එතකොට මම presentation එකක් දිදී ඉන්නකොට කර ඉන්නකොට මම patient කෙනෙක්ට treat කරමින් සිටියදී while I was treating මේක long action එකනේ මම එහෙම කර ඉන්නකොට මොකද්ද එකපාරට සිද්ධ වුනේ so that part ඊළඟ part එක කියන්න ඕනේ past simple එකේ a member of the audience asked an interesting question so while I was treating for a critical patient another patient rang the buzzer to call me likewise okay so that's a kind of a one example with the use of the word while right okay so based on your questions ඔයගලන්ට තියෙනනේ ඔයගලන්ට අපි හිතමුකෝ ඔයගෙන් question එකක් අහනවා කියලා maybe like an interview of question right ඔයාලා patient කෙනෙක්ට treat කර එක්කෙනෙක්ට treat කර ඉන්නවා නමුත් වෙන කවුරුත් ඔයාගේ ward එකේවත් එහෙම නැතිනම් ඔයාගේ care home එකේවත් වෙන කවුරුත් නැහැ එතකොට ඒ වගේ අවස්ථාවක ඔයා කොයි විදියටද ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්නේ කියලා ඔයාලගෙන් අහුවොත් ප්‍රශ්නයකට එතකොට ඕගොල්ලන්ට පුළුවන් ඔයා patient වෙනවා calm අපි පුරුදුනානේ අපේ තියෙන skills අපි patients නේ අපි calm අපි protocol එකට අනුව critical patient read කරනවා ඊට පස්සේ ඒ වගේ අර qualities එක්ක අපි answer කරනවා කියන එක අපි last week වල කතා කරානේ last week නෙමෙයි. last day අපි කතා කරන්නේ now මේ ඔක්කොම කියලා now you're just referring to an example. දැන් ඒ ඔක්කොම කියලා ඔයා right for example කියලා example එකක් දෙන්නයි යන්නේ. ඒ example එක දෙනකොට ඔයාට කියන්න ඕනේ right මම එක වෙලාවක මම critical patient කෙනෙක්ට එහෙම නැතිනම් මම අමාරු ලෙඩෙකුට කියලා කිව්වා අමාරු ලෙඩෙකුට එහෙම නැතිනම් ඔයාලට අමාරු ලෙඩක් කියන එක විස්තර කරන්න පුළුවන් කැමති විදියකට එයාට මොකද්ද එයාට ඔක්සිජන් තියෙනවා වෙන්න පුළුවන් එයාට මොකද්ද මේ අර එයාට බ්ලඩ් එකක් ගනිමින් ඉන්නවා එයාට ඩ්‍රග්ස් දෙනවා නැත්නම් එයාට පර්සනල් කෙයා දෙමින් ඉන්නකොට නැත්නම් එයාට මොනවා හරි ට්‍රීට්මන්ට්ස් කර ඉන්නකොට යම්කිසි දෙයක් සිද්ධ වුණා right මම මේ දේ කර ඉන්නකොට එකපාරට මෙන්න මෙහෙම දෙයක් වුණා. ඉතින් ඒ වෙලාවේ මම මෙන්න මේ විදිහට ක්‍රියාත්මක වුණා. ඔන්න ඔය වගේ අවස්ථාවකට ගැළපෙන විදිහේ මම මේ අවස්ථාව වලට කියලා දුන්නේ නැත්නම් අර හිතා ගන්න බෑනේ මොකක්ද හදන sentence එක කියලා. So now you know already the situation, right? So ওই situation එකට ගැළපෙන විදිහට can you make a one sentence with the use of while? So you can use the chat box. වැරදුනොත් මම මේක හදලා කියන්නම් right ඒක එහෙම නෙමෙයි මෙහෙමයි වෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා so I'm here to support you don't be panic or nervous so shall we try to make a one sentence with the use of while we'll see your examples now you know the situation and try and I'm reading your sentences but not with your name so you have that privacy yeah. So I'll give some time for you. Type it to the chat box or send it. We'll see some examples. Okay, we'll see whether it's okay. Luckily, I have one example. Thank you so much for sending this example, Miss. Right. Okay. So, while I was administrating oral medication, another patient was vomiting. Yeah, this sentence is correct because now here the specialty is, Miss. Now you have used two continuous tenses to join with while. While I was administrating oral medication, another patient was vomiting. This is also correct. ඇයි මම යම්කිසි දෙයක් කරමින් සිටියදී තවත් දෙයක් සිදු වෙමින් පැවතුණා කියලා කියන එකයි. මම oral medications දෙමින් ඉන්නකොට ඒකට interruption එකක් නෙමෙයි. නමුත් ඒ හා සමගම තවත් දෙයක් සිද්ධ වෙමින් පැවතුණා කියන meaning එක තමයි එතකොට තියෙන්නේ. Right. So there's another example. While I was taking blood from a patient, of the patient නෙමෙයි. While I was taking blood from a patient, the word phone rang continuously. Is rang නෙමෙයි අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ එතකොට එතනට past tense එක. The word phone was rang. නේද? විසින් ගැන phone නැත්නම් අපිට ඔය es නැතුව rang විතරක් පාවිච්චි. The word phone rang continuously. Yeah, so that's correct. That's correct, right? So I'm just yeah, I have another one. Very good, a big one, right? So the message everyone දාලා තියෙන නිසා අනිත් අතට බලන්න පුළුවන් sentence එක, right? While I was giving personal care, some patient in the ward now. While I was giving personal care for a patient in the ward, එහෙමයි වෙන්න ඕනේ. මොකමද? While I was giving personal care for a one patient in the ward, another patient progressed a severe aggressive behavior. Immediately, I stopped caring for my patient, and then after that, I took my attention remaining calm. Okay, so there are some mistakes, but body mistakes, but මං කිව්ව එක මතකයි නම් ආට ඒ විදිහට එක හදාගන්න පුළුවන්. I will repeat the answer again. While I was giving personal care for one patient in the ward, another patient progressed a severe aggressive behavior. So after that, නැත්නම් ඒ වචනේ නැතුව හරි immediately I stopped caring and took my attention by remaining calm. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I received another answer. Very good, right? Okay, so that was like while I was administrating medications to the patient, he was asked he asked, right? He was asked කිව්වොත් එහෙම ඔහු විසින් වෙන කවුරු හරි අසනු ලැබුවා. He was asked, that's passive tense. Now here we don't have to use a passive, so we can say while I was administrating medication to a patient, he asked the reasons why he was receiving those. That's a very correct sentence. So we'll remove the word was from there. No need of using the passive voice for that. Okay? Yes, I hope that you can understand. So if you have something to tell, so then you can raise your hand, so then I can give the chance for you to ask the question. If not, so I'm going to mute you, because it will be a disturbance for the other one, right? I have another one. Very good. While I was giving medications, my other colleague was giving LV injections. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, right. Okay. So this is how we use the word while when we are speaking. Yes, I have another one. While I was giving over the patients to another nurse, one patient called me due to severe bleeding from a surgical site. Yes, perfect. So that's a good sentence. All right. Yes. Are there anyone who like to? Yes. No other examples, it seems. Right. Okay. So we'll move on to the next then. Right. All right. So that's about the word while. So I suppose that these terms are really helpful for you to answer for these interview questions, because the way, if you learn only the way for uh, to face for these interviews, I think it's not enough, because we have problems in our communications, in grammar and the other kind of the stuff, the vocabulary and all. So that's why I thought that I have to give a support at that part as well. Right. Okay. So these are some other words we all can use. Um, so instead of using the word while, we can use the during as well. And so that is very easy. ඒකත් අර විදියටම තමයි අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ, right? Okay, so here there's a small exercise, right? So this is for you to understand. Yeah, there's an example as well. This is an exercise for you to understand the types of the connectors that we have to use. So if you know how to use, what type of the words, the type of the words you all can use to these blanks, so then I know that you have a clear understanding about these connectors. And then after that, I'm going to give further explanation about these words, right? So just read this story. Now, this is actually another story, right? My friend and I visited Rome last summer. So නිකන් හිතලා බලන්න මේ blanks වලට මොන වගේ වචන ගැලපෙයිද කියලා. අපි දැන් අර කතා කරපු during, as soon as possible, firstly, lastly වගේ words වලින් මොන වගේ වචන මෙන්න මේ blanks වලට ගැලපෙයිද කියලා පොඩක් අපි බලමු. So there's another example as well. While I was in duty room, while I was in the duty room, I heard a huge sound from patients. Yeah, that's a very correct sentence, miss. Yeah, that's correct. So this is an exercise for you. So we'll see whether you can answer for this one. I'll give some time for you to think about this one. පොඩි වෙලාවක් අරන් හිතන්න බලන්න මොන වගේ වචනයක් සෙට් වෙයිද කියලා. All right. All right. So what type of a word that you think that will really match for the first one? So just imagine that you're given an answer for a scenario-based questions in your interview. My friend and I visited Rome last summer. What type of a word will match for the first blank? What do you think about this? Right. Okay. So it seems no one is answering, just you are busy with thinking, right? Right. Okay. So yeah, I'll show you some answers for this one, right? Yes. So these are some of the answers that matches with these words. So the first blank, yes, start කරන තැනක්නේ story එක. So first of all, to start with, initially to begin with වගේ word එකක් තමයි අපි ඉස්සල්ලාම පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕනේ, right? To begin with, we flew from New York to Rome in first class. It was fantastic. ඊට පස්සේ මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ කියන එක? Yes, as soon as නැත්නම් when. When we arrived in Rome, නැත්නම් as soon as we arrived in Rome, yes, we immediately went to the hotel and took a long nap. And then the fourth one, then after that, next, we went to find a great restaurant for dinner. And for the fifth one, it suddenly, unexpectedly, a scooter appeared out of nowhere and almost hit me. The rest of the trip had no surprises. The sixth, then, after that, next, right? Next, we began to explore Rome. And then the seventh one, during the afternoons, we visited ruins and museums. At night, we hit the clubs and wandered the streets. One night, while I was getting some ice cream, I saw an old friend from high school. Imagine that eventually, if not finally, we caught our flight back to New York. We were happy and ready to begin work again, right? Okay, so that's actually the introduction of these connectors, and now I'm going to provide more informations about these connectors, and eventually, yes, we are going to talk how to use these type of words in our answers. All right? Yes. So give me 1 minute to share my screen with my beautiful presentation. Yes. Okay. Here we go. Right. So, this is my first slide of the caregiver interview. Now, this is our 4th day, the training program. Now, so first of all, without moving for the next section, I'm going to ask a question from you. Right. දැන් මෙච්චර දවස් අපි කතා කරේ මම කැමති දේවල්නේ. මම ඔයාලට ඇති වෙන ප්‍රශ්න මොනවද? ඔයාලට මොන වගේ තිගැස්මක් නැත්නම් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැත්නම් මොන වගේ සිටුේෂන් එකක් මොන වගේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් එයිද කියලා හිතලා තමයි මම මේ දක්වා අපි මේ ට්‍රේනින් ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එක නැත්නම් මේ කතාබහ අපි අරගෙන ආවේ. Right. So do you have anything to ask about this one? මේ caregiver interview එක නැත්නම් මේ nursing interview එක ගැන ඕගොල්ලන්ට දැනෙන ඕගොල්ලන්ට අහන්න මේක ගැන මේක කොහොමද වෙන්නේ වගේ මොනවා හරි දෙයක් තියෙනවද දැනගන්න. මේ වගේ එකක් ඇහුවොත් මොන වගේද? likewise මොන වගේ කතා කරගන්න බැරි වෙයිද? මොන වගේ issues ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ mind එකේ තියෙන්නේ. So I'm going to give some seconds for you. Not seconds, but like around 2 minutes. So if you have something, so then you can ask it from me. I'll promise if I know the answer, I'll exactly give the answer for you. Yes? Okay, ඔයගලන්ට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නයක් දැන් අහන්න බලන්න. And if you have some comments, right, තව අපේ program එකට තව මොනවද එකතු වුණොත් හොඳයි කියලා හිතන්නේ. Likewise, if you have some suggestions and all. Yes, anything you have in your mind? Nothing like that? So what type of support that you need further from me? මගෙන් තව මොනවද ඔයගලන්ට ඕන කරන උදව්ව මේ දේවල් ටිකක් අපිට තව කියලා දෙන්න පුළුවන් නම්. Don't you have anything like that? What make you happy while you serving the client. Is this a question or a sentence? Because you were, yeah, what make you happy while you serving the client? Is this a question that you like to discuss with me? Yes, okay. What make you happy while you're serving the client? Now, yes. So, yes, it's an important question. So, what sort of an answer we all can give for this one? Actually, yes. So, from these questions, actually, they want to know how you're satisfied this job or how you're satisfied by doing these jobs and all. Right? ගොඩක් අය වෙලාවට අපි මොකක් හරිම ජොබ් එකක් ඕන නිසානේ මේ වගේ එකක් සමහර වෙලාවට තෝරගන්නනේ. ඊට පස්සේ නේද? So, if you say that you're very satisfied of treating for the patients and if you're now you feel like when you're helping others, well, you're helping these adults or the patients, so then it means you're not just treating for a patient, but you're changing a life of a person, right? So the feeling that you have changed a life, a change, you've been a reason to change a life, makes you really satisfied about the job. You make you really satisfied after the day, after the job role and all. So then they will give some marks for yourself because it seems that you're really good, really appreciate, really happy about the work that you're doing. You got it? So whenever when you're giving answers for these type of questions, actually you need to feel those people that you're very interested in the role that you need to do this one, not because only about money, but because of your career life as well, that it's interesting, that's your passion, and so you're satisfying by engage in these type of words, so that idea need to be go to the mind of the interviewer, right? You got it? Yes. Okay. So yeah. Any other thing? When look at that, any other thing that you want to know? Right. Okay. If you got something, make sure to ask it from me. Fine. Right. So we'll move. And I told that I'm going to help with the words, the connecting words. Right. So we'll see type of the words that we can use. Right. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Welcome. Right. Sequence connectors. Right. Okay. So you see these are some of the words. Yes, these are some of the words that it really help us to build up our story, our answer. At last, now there's no any order here. Just these are some of the examples. Now previously also from the story, we noted some of the words. Now අපතක වෙලා තිබ්බ වචන මොන හරි තිබ්බනම් දැන් ඔන්න මතක් වෙන්න ඇති. Right? Because when we are giving some scenario based answers, we'll really use these type of words like at last, furthermore, finally, meanwhile, moreover, besides, in the end, yes, in addition, first of all. Yeah, I got another one. Why it is important to follow policies and procedures that have been put in place? Please give me the answer. Why is it important to follow policies and procedures that have been put in place? Yes, that's a very good question, right? So what type of an answer that would really helpful for yourself? Now, following policies and procedures actually doing what? Following these procedures and policies make the role, make your role very, what is it called? Safe for the both parties. Right? So if there are any particular type of policies or procedures, we call sometimes the protocols to follow. If you follow those protocols, actually it helps you and the patient to be safe. Because here in these countries, they are so much considering about the safeguarding. And so you must engage with these policies and procedures because it helps to grow up together to ඒක follow කරන එක මගින් මොනවද ඔයගලන්ට අපිට ලැබෙන්නේ ඔයාට safety එකක් ලැබෙනවා සහ patient ඔයාට දෙන්නටම ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ connection එක හරි මට්ටමින් පවත්වාගෙන යන්න උදව් උපකාර වෙනවා. So that type of an answer, that type of an idea need to be in your answer. I'm not just not giving an answer, a particular answer for that one, but I'm just giving an idea what sort of an idea have to be inserted into your answer. So by the answer you have to tell that you're very keen on following policies and procedures. So if you think that if you only give an answer like that, so then they will like to hire you because they're highly caring about following policies and procedures or the guidelines or the safeguarding principles and all. Because always you are doing that thing. හැම වෙලේම ඔයා ඒ අනුකූලව තමයි වැඩ කරන්නේ කියන එක අනිවාර්යෙන්ම ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ආන්සර් එක ඇතුලේ ගැප් විය යුතුමයි. If not, so they are just think twice. Right, okay. So yeah, that's an idea, kind of an idea. Right, so these are some of the other. All in all, eventually, it might take her 5 weeks, but she will do it eventually. So what does it mean by this eventually word? Do you know the meaning of this word? Eventually means eventually. That's a very good term. And also you can use this word while you're giving answer for this type of interview questions as well. Eventually. What does it mean by this word I'm asking? Do you know anyone? What does mean? Eventually. Anyone? Eventually. It takes time. That's what it means, right? Eventually. කාලයත් එක්ක නේද? Eventually. ටික and ටික. අන්න ඒ වගේ meaning එකක් දෙන්න. So ටික and ටික eventually time. It's time taking. That's what we want to mean by the word eventually. So try to use those words as well when you're communicating with your interviewer, right? Okay, so we'll see some other common words as well. Okay, yes, we have some another set of words here. Even though, while. So I talk about the word while, and you see the word when. He had climbed many mountains when he was a boy. So when is a type of a word we need to connect two sentences together. විට කියන අර්ථයනේ විට කියන්නේ මේ කන විට නෙමෙයි නේද? යම් ක්‍රියාවක් සිද්ධ වෙන අවස්ථාව වන විට. He had climbed many mountains when he was a boy. Yeah. කොල්ලා කාලේ ගොඩක් දේවල් කරලා තියෙනවා කියන අර්ථයෙන් තමයි මෙතන පාවිච්චි කරලා තියෙන්නේ when. So it's a very useful word to connect two or two few sentences together. And so you can see there's another word called so that. Now, what is the main intention of using so that? And where we use the word so that? So that කියන word එක ගොඩක් පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ to indicate an purpose. So that we need to follow policies and procedures so that we can follow the safeguard environment. So that. So yes, so that කියන word එක හැම වෙලේම අපි ගොඩක් කලාට පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ යම් අරමුණකින්. මොන අරමුණෙන් අපි සිංහලෙන් නම් කියනවා පිනිස කියන එක. So another word for this one, so that ඔයාලට මෙතනත් පේනවා you're very late so that we cannot start the lesson. අන්න ඒ නිසා so that. So here it is it. So you're very late so that we cannot start the lesson. අරමුණෙන් නැත්නම් so that කියන එකෙන් අපි purpose එක කතා කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. මේකට සමානයි in order to කියන එක. In order to. So we use the both terms to tell a purpose of something, right? Once I start, I must continue. Once කියන word එකත් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ අර story type questions වලට answer කරනකොට. After, unless means නැත්තම් කියන එකනේ. Unless මම මේ වගේ දේවල් පිළිපැද්දේ නැතිනම් මම අමාරුවේ වැටෙනවා. If I didn't follow, unless I follow the policies and procedures in a care home, I'll be in danger. Right? Yes. Whether. Yeah. Whereas even if Alex earned a big salary එකක් ගත්තා වුණත් කියන එකනේ තිබුණා වුණත්. Even if I follow the policies and procedures, sometimes I may I may fail, nothing. I may fail sometimes with the patients because of the communication, because of some behavioral matters and all. Even if kara unat කියලා කියන්න අපි පාවිච්චි කරන even if I commit very well to the profession, sometimes I may feel like depressed, for example, right? So even if කියන word එක, because you already know the meaning of the word because, rather than, if you want to compare two things together, so then you can use the word rather than. Before, yes, you already know the word before and after, so they are very common conjunctions. Pera pasu කියන අර්ථයෙන්. Wherever they go, wherever they want, wherever, kohe unat, when, so that, once, after. Yes, some of the words have been repeated here. So these are some other common connectors we all can use, right? So from here onwards, I'm going to give some detailed informations. Yeah, so now here you can see there's a topic here, adjective transition words. Now, not only for the scenario-based questions, but also when you're giving some answers for your personal informations, so then you have to use this adjective transition words. Adjective කියලා කියන්නේ මොනවද? අපි මොනවා හරි දෙයක් කියලා ඒ වගේම තවත් දේවල් තියෙනවා කියලා introduce කරනකොට පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕන connecting words. අපි ඒවට transition words කියලාත් කියනවා. So you can see several classifications here, right? Okay. So addition. ඒ කියන්නේ මොනවා හරි දැන් add කරන්න, right? So add කරන්න කියලා කියන්නේ අපි එක දෙයක් කියලා ඊට අමතරව තවත් දෙයක් තියෙනවා කියලා කියනකොට we use the word moreover. For example, like moreover. So there's an example sentence actually here in moreover, but moreover විතරක් නෙමෙයි, මෙන්න මෙතන තියෙන හැම වචනයක්ම මොනවා හරි detail එකක් add කරන්න පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. So moreover, indeed, furthermore, additionally, and also both this one and that one, both physical and mental, both physical and mental behavior, not only something but also, yes, not only the education but also the attitudes help us to grow. Besides x හැරෙන්නට, ඒ හැරෙන්න තවත් දේවල් කියනවා කියන, besides what we call, like, for example, we'll say besides what is it? No, I can't remember anything. Right, in fact, මෙන්න මේ කියන වචන ඔක්කොම පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ addition කරන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ මොනවා හරි තොරතුරක් ඔයගොල්ලෝ එකක් කියලා ඊට අමතරව තවත් දෙයක් තියෙනවා කියලා කියන්න. So for an example here you can see we found that the mixture was effective. Moreover, it appeared to have additional effects we hadn't predicted. So moreover, yes. So you can see some examples here, some other synonyms, සමාන පද. මේ වෙනුවට පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් සමාන පද. ඒ හැරෙන්න තවත් තියෙනවා. So මේ වගේනොත් ගොඩාක් අපිට කතා කරන්න දැන් ඉන්ටර්විව් එකකට අපි කතා කරන්න තියෙන. එතකොට ඒ නිසා ඔයාලට ගොඩාක් උදව් කරනවා addition, furthermore, moreover කියන words ටික ගොඩක් academic writing purpose එකට පාවිච්චි කරන words. But additionally, both this one and that, not only, besides කියන වචන ගොඩක් වෙලාවට informal communication එකට පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් words. So try to use them more, right? So we'll move on to the next. Introduction. Sorry. So when you give examples for something, actually, yes, so we can use such as, like, particularly, including, as an illustration, for example, for instance, in particular, to illustrate, especially, notably. Yes, so we have huge collection of words here. You all can use these type of words whenever you want to give further informations about something you wanted. Now, these words will really help you to pass your interview, because if you use these words, so it shows there's a flow in your speaking. So if it's so clear for the interviewer, so they are very likely to hire you, because if you know these words, actually, it also help you to grow your confidence level. So if you're confident enough to answer or to face our interview, that may really help you to face our interview positively right? So then you don't be very nervous. You're very, what is this? Confident about the words and all. So it's easy for you to face. All right. Okay. So we'll move on to the next reference. Reference කියලා කියන්නේ මෙන්න මේ දේ සලකා බලනකොට considering this result, considering මෙන්න මේක සලකා බලනකොට considering the major, we'll say, so each and every country they have their own rules, own responsibilities. What is it said? The guidelines. Yeah, considering the guidelines regarding the policies in regard to the caregiver policies, like for a මේ පොලිසි එකට අනුව දැන් ඔයාලා කතා කරනකොට මම අර කලින් කිව්වේ කතා කරනකොට අර යම් යම් රටවල් වල ඒ අදාළ කරන රට තියෙන ඒ සම්බන්ධව ඔයාලා ඇප්ලයි කරන පෝස්ට් එක සම්බන්ධව තියෙන rules and regulations පිළිබඳව දැනගෙන යන්න කියලා. එතකොට අපිට ඒවත් consider කරලා අපිට යම් යම් questions වලට answer කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් it shows that you are very rich in your knowledge. So yes, when you're referring to that type of policies or that type of regulations, right? So then you can use this type of words to join those ideas to your main speech, right? Similarity means samanai කියන එක. ඒ වගේම කියලා කියන්නේ අපි, right? Similarly, in the same way, by the same token, like, equally, likewise. So we use this type of words to tell ඒ වගේම, ඒ වගේම, in the same way, likewise. So when you're considering, when you're just comparing two things together, two incidents together, then ඒකේ වගේම මම මට ඉස්සරහට එන අවස්ථාවලත් මේ වගේ මම කටයුතු කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. So in the same way, I hope to cope with those situations by keeping myself patient and calmly. All right? Yeah, okay. So the clarification කියලා කියන්නේ යම් කිසි දෙයක් නාමික වශයෙන් කියනවා නම් කරනවා නම්, namely, specifically, more preciously. In other words, කියන්නේ මොන හරි දෙයක් කියලා ඒක තවදුරටත් explain කරනවා නම්. So then you can refer to this type of words. So these words are actually, it's going for the adjective transition words. It means these words will really help you to give another more information or to add information to your interview answers. Fine. So yes, so we'll see the others. I think that you're taking some screenshot of the screen. හැබැයි ඉතින් මාවත් අහුවෙනවා. ඒකට කමක් නැහැ. මාවත් මතක තියෙන්නේ නැතකොට නේ අන්තිම වෙනකොට. Right. Okay. So just take some screenshots. So then you can refer to these words later on when you're just practice by yourself. Fine. Okay. So we'll move on to the next. Right. So the next topic is actually adversative transition words. So it says, simply කිව්වොත් එහෙම මොනවා හරි දේවල් අපිට contrast කරන්න වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ සංසන්දනය කරන්න අවස්ථාවක් ආවොතින් අන්න ඒ සඳහා පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් වචන මේන් තියෙනවා. Yes, of course, we have to use this type of words because we don't know what type of questions actually they'll ask from us. So අපිට list එකක් දුන්නා වුණාට හරියටම මේක වගේ hi කියලා කියන්න ඉතින් දේවාලයකට තමයි යන්න වෙන්නේ. නිකන් අර පේනයක් බලලා මේ වගේ මොන වගේ ප්‍රශ්න දහන්නේ එහෙම කියලා. එතකොට අපිට ඒ තත්ත්වයට තාම යන්න බැරි නිසා, so then you have to get ready for all these type of questions. So we don't know what type of a question. So if you have the chance to compare and contrast two things together, neither. So then you can use the conflict. Conflict කියලා කියන්නේ පරස්පර විරෝධී. ඒ කියන්නේ එකක් හලු එකක් සුදු. අන්න ඒ වගේ එකිනෙකට විරුද්ධ අදහස් දෙකක් කතා කරනකොට, so then you can use this type of words. So you can see, but, however, although, though, equally, by way of contrast, whereas, conversely, whereas, in fact. So you don't need to study all the words, but just remember some of the words that you can remember easily, and then when you're speaking, when you're just getting ready for these interview questions, try to keep in touch with these words. And so it's good if you're using these words where it necessary. Fine. So the concession, that is also somewhat same for the conflict. So මේ වචනත් අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට contrast කරන්න නැත්නම් අපි compare කරන්න. කොහොම නමුත් කියලා කියන්නේ අපි අපි හොඳ ගොඩාක් කතා කරලා අපි අන්තිමට කියන කොහොම වුණත් මේක මේ අනිත් පැත්තක් තියෙනවා. හොඳක් තියෙනවා, හොඳ තියෙනවා වගේම අනිත් පැත්තක් තියෙනවා. අන්න ඒ වගේ කතන්දර කියනකොට අපිට මෙන්න මේ වචන පාවිච්චි කරන්න වෙනවා. For example, like yes. Now, so if they ask about your skills, the better skills that you have, or the qualities, or else if they are asking that what type of a person you are, so then you have the good and the bad. Yes, we all are like a kind of a mixture of good and bad. So you want to emphasize the good qualities of you, and as well as if you just mentioning some kind of sensitiveness. So the sensitiveness is somewhat in some places considered as a kind of a negative skill, negative quality, right? For each of these professions. So if you are so sensitive, so it's very difficult to cope with some type of patients because you become sense, right? So some places it will be kind of a weakness. In that cases, although I have all these best qualities, I also consider myself as a very sensitive person. Likewise, you can introduce something negative about yourself with these type of words, right? So you have some collection of the words here, like even so, nonetheless, even though, yes, it is being repeated. Yes, on the other hand, admittedly, despite, notwithstanding. Now remember, when you're referring to these words, actually there are some formal and informal words. Now, for example, when it comes to the conflict side, it's best to have the words like whereas, conversely, though, however, but. ඒ වගේ වචන අපි කතා කරන්න පාවිච්චි කරන්න හොඳයි. නමුත් on the other hand, yeah, by the way of contrast, that's somewhat formal. So it's better to use in the writing part. Fine. So concession වලට ආවහම even though කියනවට වඩා නිකන් although ඒ වගේ admittedly though yet කියන වචන ගොඩක් හොඳයි පාවිච්චි කරන්න communicate කරන්න. The others are better for the speak, not for the speaking, but the writing part, right? Dismissal කියලා කියන්නේ මේ හැරෙන්නට කියලා කියනකට. In any case, either way, whatever the case, මොනවා වුණත්. Likewise, alright? So emphasize කරනකොට above all, indeed, more importantly, emphasize. Sometimes we want to emphasize some type of situations, isn't it? Yeah. So when you are discussing about your qualities and all, so above all, now I have so many qualities. මට ගොඩාක් හොඳ qualities තියෙනවා, but above all, හැම එකකින්ම list එකේ උඩින්ම තියෙන මෙන්න මේකයි. So when you want to tell that sentence in your interview answer, you can use the word above all. හැම දෙයකටම වඩා උඩින් කියන එක above all, right? Indeed, most importantly, more preciously. Likewise, you can use when you want to emphasize something when you give, right? So then a replacement. Replacement එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ, so we can see there's an example. The character of Godfrey is often viewed as selfish or at least self-absorbed. So replacement එහෙම නැතිනම් මෙහෙම වගේ කියන එකනේ. So මේ ගොඩාක් අපිට මේ වචන ගොඩාක් අපිට ඕන වෙන්නේ නැහැ, but අර මොකද කියන්නේ පොඩි idea එකක් තිබ්බනම් right මේ වගේ words අපිට පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. So this is not actually I'm teaching the words, just I'm reminding these words because already you have learned about or දැන්ටමත් මේ වචන ගැන දන්නවා ඇති. නමුත් සමහර වෙලාවට අමතක වෙලා තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. නේද? එතකොට අපි ටිකක් මතක් කරගන්න එක හොඳයිනේ. That's why. So casual transition words. Casual කියලා කියන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට කතා කරන්න පාවිච්චි කරන words. එතකොට ගොඩාක් වෙලාවට මෙන්න මේ words අපි පාවිච්චි කරනවා අපේ කතා බහට එකතු කරගන්න. Fine. So consequence එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ ප්‍රතිඵලයක් කතා කරන result එකක්. result එකක් කියන්නේ එම නිසා කියන අර්ථය දෙන්න. එතකොට එම නිසා කියලා කියනකොට මෙන්න මේ set එකක්ම තියෙනවා. ගොඩාක් අපි මෙන්න මේ වචන refer කරනවා අපි කතා කරනකොට. So therefore, because, so because විතරක් පාවිච්චි කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. Sometimes we can use the because of. But you need to know the grammar rules. Because කියලා කියනකොටයි because of කියලා කියනකොටයි එකතු කරන ඊළඟ part එක ටිකක් වෙනස් වෙනවා. Now, for example, here you can say because Hitler failed to respond to the British ultimatum, France and the UK declared war on Germany. right? So because වලින් පස්සට පේනවා sentence එකක් join කරලා තියෙන්නේ. Hitler failed to respond to the British ultimatum කියලා කියන එක sentence එකක්. So ඔයාලා because of ගත්තොත් එහෙම because of is not a conjunction, that's called a preposition. So prepositions වලින්ට පස්සේ sentence එකතු කරන්න බෑ. You have to follow with what? The noun phrases. ඒ වගේ පොඩි පොඩි නීති තියෙනවා සමහර තැන්වල, so then you have to need to know about those changes as well, right? So since කියන එක inconsequence, hence, thus, accordingly මොනවටද මේ වචන පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ? එම නිසා කියලා තේරුම දෙන්න. Under that circumstances, if so, so ගොඩාක් අපිට ඕන කරනවා වෙන මේ වචන සෙට් එක. So remember to use them while you're speaking, while you're giving answer for your interviews. Right, conditions. කොන්දේසි. මෙහෙම වුණොතින් පමණක් නේද? Unless, given that, being that, in other cases, if so, එහෙමනම් කියලා කියනකොට if so, otherwise, එහෙම නැත්තම්, otherwise, එහෙම නැතිනම් නේද? Unless, නැත්තම්, in the case that, provided, in case, even if උනත් නේද? Even if එහෙම උනත්, only if මෙහෙම උනොත් විතරක්. Likewise, so there are many of those type of conjunctions. මේවා conjunctions උත් මෙතන තියෙනවා, conjunctions උත් තියෙනවා, මෙතන conditional words උත් තියෙනවා. ඒතර අපිට commonly පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන් common word එක තමයි අර transition words. එහෙම නැතිනම් connecting words කියලා කියන්නේ. That's why I've said the topic at the beginning of our lesson as connectors, right? So මම අර වලට කිව්වේ so that කියන එක පාවිච්චි කරනවා කියලා අපි purpose එකක් කියන්න. අපි යම්කිසි දෙයක් කරන්නේ මොන අරමුණෙන්ද කියන එක. Right? So to introduce those type of purposes, we all can use this type. Here you can see, in order to that, for that purpose, in the hope, so that, lest, with this in mind, so that කියන එක සහ in order to කියන එක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මතක තියාගන්න මම හිතනවා ලේසි කියලා. So it's very easy to follow those type of words. All right. So until now, do you have anything to ask about these words? Right? දැනට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මොනවා හරි ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවද මේ words ගැන අහන්න දැනගන්න? Anything about this one? I know maybe sometimes you have some problems of understanding such words, such expressions, how to use that type of particular word. එහෙම ඒවා තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි ඉතින් අපිට ගොඩක් මේ කාලේ අපි මේක පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ, it's not a grammar class and all. Just I'm giving an idea what type of words that you have to focus while you're giving answers and all. So generally I'm just mentioning these terms, not in point forms and all. ගොඩක් ලොකු explanations දෙන්න අපිට time නැසෙ. මේ එක වචනයක් ගත්තොත් එහෙම අපිට මුළු දවසක්ම කතා කරන්න පුළුවන් තරමට දේවල් තියෙනවා මේ වචන ගැන කතා කරන්න. So maybe if you have some problems of understanding such terms, so it's better to Google those words, because now we have a lot of platforms like that. So then you can go from the Google, you can search anything that you want, right? So I think you will get an understanding about that one, right? Okay, so sequential transition words. So මෙන්න මේ words ගැනත් ඔයගොල්ලන් දන්නවා ඇති කියලා හිතනවා. මේව ගොඩක් වෙලාවට දන්න වචන, first, second, third, to begin with. So far we have discussed these words. Subsequently කියලා කියන්නේ continuation. ඊට පස්සේ කියන eventually, previously, next, before, afterwards, likewise. So finally, yes, you know. So these are some of other common terms that can be substituted by the word finally. That's the final point, eventually, last but not least, finally. So from these words, it shows that there's a conclusion. Right. Resumption, to return to my main point again. I'm so summarizing, in summary, like so all these words will not help you to get it up to interview, but I thought that it's better to give an idea about the words. All right. Okay. So we'll move on to the next and we'll see. Right. So now I have told. So first of all, I'll give a brief understanding about the words, and then after that, we'll see where we all can use this type of words. So අපි දැන් එක ගලෙන් අර කුරුළු දෙන්නෙක් මෙය කරගන්න යන්නේ. දැන් අපි වචන ටික ඉගෙන ගත්තා වගේම බලමු අපි මෙන්න වගේ questions වලට answer කරනකොට කොහොමද අර වචන පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ සහ මොන වගේ answer එකක්ද අපි දෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. Fine. So here you can see some examples. The first question is, how do you maintain confidentiality in your health assistant work? Now, you know, especially even in Sri Lanka, when you work with the patients, you all have to respect for the confidentiality of your patients. So if you just, there are some exceptions where you can break this one, but as a general format, as in general, you all are in that guideline, in that kind of protocol. You need to protect the confidentiality of the patient. So now the interviewee is asking this question from you. What is it? How do you maintain? Or කොහොමද මේක maintain කරන්නේ? Okay, right. So we'll think. We'll like හිතන්න බලන්න ඔයාට මොන වගේ answer එකක් ඔළුවට එයිද කියලා. How do you maintain confidentiality in your healthcare assistant work? Right? Okay. So හිතන්න ගොඩක් මහන්සි වෙන්න නැතුව අපි බලමු මොකක්ද මේකට දෙන්න පුළුවන් answer එකක් කියලා. And also with this, yes. Okay. So I've highlighted 3 parts. Three words. So these 3 words are actually some connective words. So we'll see the answer as well. I never disclose any of my patients' medical information to anyone unless the patient themselves has given me written consent to do so. Some details are sensitive and personal. It is part of my job to ensure complete discretion. I consider trust a crucial element of having quality of relationship with patients. So I handle confidentiality with precaution. So see the words and all, right? So just imagine that you have this. Now yours down. This is not IELTS only. It is not OET exam. So you don't have to think about the advanced terms, the advanced sentence structures and the words. That's not the thing. But you have to clearly give the meaning. What you mean? Interviewer. So you have to give an idea to the interviewer that you are very keen on and you're very protective, you're very caring about this confidentiality, and you know something about this. All right. So for this answer, yes, you can see some of those connectors helped. Right. So another one, why did you choose healthcare assistant as a profession? Now, this is what I ask you at first, right? So for this type of questions, always we are giving type of a story type answer, right? So why did you choose healthcare assistant as a profession? In that case, we have to use many connectors. So you see, when I was a child, my mother developed a degenerative disease. I learned early on how to help her. As I grew up, I spent most of my free time taking care of her. Every time I could make her feel better, made me feel fulfilled in return. So understood then කියන word එකත් මෙතන ඒ වගේ word එකක් then that helping others was my calling. I'm compassionate and committed to providing excellent care to patients. So see the words, the connectors, that how they have been used, and try to use many type of connectors. So then your talking, your answer will be like it's beautiful to it's clear to understand by the interviewer. All right. Okay. So I think you got it. And I have one more question here. Recall a time a patient situation made you feel sad. What did you do? Okay, so now this is another situation-based question. Now you have to provoke an experience you had, isn't it? Yes, you have to provoke an kind of an experience. So here also, yeah, see, we are using number of connectors. So for example, the first time I lost a patient, I was really sad. I didn't talk about my feelings to anyone. I had difficulties falling asleep for a while after that. The experience, understood it's essential to deal with my emotions as they grew up. They come up, of course. I always stay positive by encouraging my patients, but once alone, take care of myself. And if can anger, sadness will affect and make me not meet with talking about what we feel a level for our patients. So like the okay, I suppose I'm the host. Right. I'm so sorry, guys. Something bad happened for me. Right. Can you all hear me properly? Yes, right? So I believe that I've been clear for you. Mama henawද ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පැහැදිලිව එනවනේ? Yes, thank you. Right, okay. So the last question and the last answer, you all can see some of these words have been highlighted because why? I want you to understand that we are using this type of words, the connectors in each of our answers. Without these words, actually, it cannot be trust, it cannot be connect the idea. So these words are very essential. That's why I thought that I have to give an understanding. So I now believe that you have a, I don't think that you learned about the words, but මට මතක් වෙන්න දී right එහෙම වචන එකක් තියෙනවා අපි සමහර වෙලාවට පාවිච්චි කරනවා and also have to use this type of words and sometimes also you have some screenshots with you I believe like that you can get use those words as well. All right, so now from that one we are moving for some other questions, right? Okay, so now explain what qualities make you a good caregiver. All right, so right, so explain what qualities. Now this is a major question that appears in a interview of questions. So far we have discussed many of the points, many of the answers. So these were the qualities that we already talked about: the positivity, the engagement of the work, the motivation we have, the honesty, reliability, flexibility, the patience, and the kindness. So the mixture of these qualities makes actually a good caregiver, if not a very good nursing officer who cares a lot about their clients, right? So you have to include all these part of the words into your answer like this way. And here also you can see that I have highlighted the words, the connective words, right? And so this is just an example here. So you can see how these words have been used here. So I believe my most useful qualities in this role are patience and kindness. My role as a caregiver in a group home for the elderly. Now this particular person is recalling his or her memory because she or he has worked as a caregiver for a group of elderly person before interview, before comes for this new job, right? So you guys have many of your experiences in hospital, so then you can recall your memories in your hospital boards and all, right? So this is just an example, and let me read this one for you. In my role as a caregiver in a group home for the elderly, I was frequently the only attending caregiver on my floor overnight. I had one gentleman who would always pass me to attend him, but because he was experiencing memory loss dementia, When I arrived, he would forget. He just asked me for the same thing. I always showed him kindness and patience. And as a result, he requested me as his caregiver, but he left the group home to live with a family member. They hired me for in-home care as well. So now you see how that this answer flows. Now the question is not to tell a situation, not to tell a kind of an experience. It was just a question asking, explain what qualities make you a good caregiver. All right. So now from this answer, we all can learn. Now in the first half of this answer, it addresses the question directly and it says what type of qualities over the above. Now for this one as well, you can tell that you have many of the qualities, but above all, you are caring about the patience and the kindness that is more valuable for your role, because that makes the caregiver or the nurse very good in appearance, isn't it? Yeah. So, and then after that, you can see there's an example as well to prove it. Now, when you're providing some experiences like this, even when they are not asking, so it's a good idea, I guess, because if you're proving such things with your examples by your experience, so that I guess it will be good for yourself because you have many of your experiences like this. So from experience, අර ක්‍රියාවෙන්ම කියනවට වඩා ක්‍රියාවෙන් ඔප්පු කරන එක හොඳයි කියලා කියනනේ. So likewise, it's better to come up with an answer like this with a situation. All right. Okay. So any type of questions until now? Anything to be clarified? No? Right. Okay, so we'll move on to the next question. Oh my God. Just disappeared. Right. So my question is the next one. How do you deal with difficult patients? Oh, wow. That's a really the clients, where the word client is there. Right. How do you deal with your difficult clients? So this is a very, very interesting question. So what they're asking from you is, now with negative posturing can be tricky to navigate because you always want to speak positively about previous work experiences. So this is a good opportunity to not only answer for this question respectfully, but display a calm demeanor. It means the calm appearance of yourself and show how you handle stressful situations diplomatically to an order. Right. So I thought that I have to give a chance for you as well to speak. So without moving to the answer, I make this chance to give it for you to speak. Right. So for an example, now don't be panicked, don't be nervous. Right. So you can't be seen. ඔයාලව කාටවත් පේන්නේ නැහැ. ඔයාලගේ නම විතරයි පේන්නේ, එකත් මට විතරයි පේන්නේ. So imagine that your interviewer asks this question from you. ඔයාලගේ මෙන්න මේ question එක ඇහුවා කියලා. How do you deal with difficult clients? So I know that you have many of your experiences. ඔයගොල්ලෝ ගොඩක් experience difficult clients, එහෙම නැත්නම් difficult patients ලව handle කරලා. So what type of an answer would you willing to give for this type of questions? So then I can give some time if you want to get ready for this one. And if you're ready to give an answer, please raise your hand. And so we can listen up to that answers. Right? පොඩි අවස්ථාවක් දෙන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කතා කරන්න. කැමති නම් raise hand කරන්න. පොඩි time එකක් දෙන්නම් ready වෙන්න අවශ්‍යයි. මොකද්ද කියන්නේ කියලා පොඩක් හිතා ගන්න ඕන. But remember, when in the interview, they are not giving some time for you to get ready. So just take it this, make this a chance to speak. How do you deal with difficult clients? If you have a particular answer, right? මට අවහවුවොත් මම මෙහෙමයි කියන්නේ කියලා එඩිටරව නිකන් challenge එක බාර අරගෙන කතා කරන්න පුළුවන් කෙනෙක් ඉන්නා නම් please come with the confidence. I'll give some time for you to just to digest the question. So if you're willing to speak, please raise your hand so then I know that you're willing to talk. Just speak. That's it. We can't see you. Oh, කාටවත් පේන්නෙත් නැහැ. කිසිම දෙයකට බය වෙන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. And yeah. Okay. Anyone? Oh, I'm so happy. I have a one. Right. Okay, miss. You have the chance to speak. Shall we start, miss? You can unmute the mic. Hasini, miss? Mic එක unmute කරපුවාම අපිට ඔබ ඇහෙයි. තාම mute. Hello, miss. Can you hear me?
I will give a short answer for that. I have to understand and accept the client's perspective firstly. Then I should listen attentively.
Miss මාව ඇහෙනවද?
Hello? 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 Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Now I can hear you properly, miss. Yes. Okay. So, right. Okay, Miss Hasini. So imagine that I'm the interviewer and you got your lucky interview today, right? So I'm going to answer this question from you. So then you have to give a particular answer for this one. Fine? Right. So the question is, how to deal with the difficult clients?
Well, I have to understand and accept the client perspective first. Then I should listen attentively to the client and understand the situation well. Then I have to realize and I have to recognize the reason why the patient behave like this, and then I can achieve. Then I can approach to the client and explain explain the importance of that medication or something else. The patient the regarding the situation.
Okay, Miss Hasini, that's a wonderful answer. Thank you so much for answering that one. And you use a range of connective words in your answer as well. And also you address the criteria. So it was a very good answer, Miss. Thank you so much for answering. Right. So yes. Right. So are there any other ones who like to answer for this one? No? අපි නම් කරයි answers වටනේ. All right. Okay. Yes, I have lucky person. Yes, Miss or Mr. Harsha or Harsha. You can unmute the mic so then we can hear you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, ma'am, I can hear you.
Oh, yes, Mr. Harsha, right. Okay, so again, you have to imagine that you're the candidate that was facing for this caregiver or the nursing interview, right? So I'm going to ask this question from you, and then after that, you can give a particular answer, right? Okay, so how do you deal with difficult clients?
Yeah, in such situations, as a caregiver, we have to stay uh, strongly. We have to stay strong and calm and patient because we have to deal with a difficult client. So first thing we have to do, we have to understand the situation accordingly, and then we have to approach the client and try to make him calm, and then accordingly we have to react him to we have to react according to the client, understanding
Mhm.
his or her situation to make him calm, and accordingly we have to address other formalities.
Yes. Okay. Yes, Mr. Harsha, that's a good answer, actually. Yes. So you address the question quickly and correctly. And so we'll see what type of an answer is there in this here. Oh my goodness, that's a very lengthy answer. So we'll see. To answer this question, I'd like to give you an example that comes from my personal experience as a home health caregiver early in my career. So, this is one approach, right? Because you can take some examples from your experiences if you have like that. If not, like Mr. Harsha and I can't remember the name of the other person who answered for this one. So, as them answered, you can tell how your behavior, what would your normal behavior to calm down this type of patients and all. Right. Okay. So we'll see what is it. So I was just out of my college at my first job when a client in my care became very agitated. I took a few steps back, making sure my demeanor was calm and non-threatening, and brought family members in to assist. When my client was relaxed, I knelt to his level, took his hand, looked him in the eye, and explained why I was there in a calm, quiet voice. So this became common practice for me when I entered the room. I would meet the client at this level, take his hand, and explain who I was and what I would be doing that day. It helped him feel less stress, and eventually he began to recognize me as his caregiver. So probably I have to tell this one. So when you're treating your patients now in a foreign land, right? So maybe most of the time your patient or your client may be a foreigner, maybe a black or a white people. We don't know the ethnicity because here in the countries we all made every people from every, I mean, like more of the people from every country, right? So we don't know what would be the patient, I mean, like what type of a patient would be that person. So most of the time, from the first sight, they're not just likely to accept you as you as a caregiver. So sometimes in that places they'll be agitated, they don't respond to you. Sometimes they're responding very rudely, I don't need the help of you, and like at the same time, so they are, you can use in some other words as well, right? In that places, of course, you have to be very calm and quiet. Have you see how this person has done this one? So you have to be very calm, and for those people, they need to feel that you're very protective, you're a very secure person, that who is very caring about that person. So they need that feeling from you. It means, so from this answer you have to give that feeling to the interviewer, how that you'll manage that type of incident. So however, yes, of course you have to mention that you'll not be stressed, you'll not be like panic and all. So you will stay calm and patient, and then after you'll take time to understand, because always you try to tell that you're there with the patient, whatever will happen, whatever kira kan marana kanguna to he no so then you will adapt to the situation and you give the full attention towards the patients. Okay, right. So this is another example, and see will we'll see another question. Right, okay. So there's another one. The question asked from you, what would you do if it's after your shift, but your replacement has not arrived? Okay, now, so in caregiver position or in the nurse position, you're working to a shift. Yes. So එක hours ගණන් වලින් shift එකකට තමයි වැඩ කරන්නේ. එතකොට ඔයාගෙන් පස්සේ ලෙඩාව බාර ගන්න කෙනා ඇවිල්ලා හිටියේ නැතිනම් මොකද කරන්නේ? So it's about the responsibility question එකක් නේ. So yes, some qualities that caregivers should display are patience, loyalty and reliability. So these are traits vital to the role because you can't ever leave your charge without care. This question provides the opportunity to explain how you use these traits in daily operations. So I just talk about this topic as the last day as well. Yeah. So see, if I were in a situation where my relief මගේ සහනය කියලා කියන්නේ නේද? මට සහනයක් හම්බ වෙන වෙන කෙනෙක් ආවට පස්සේනේ, that's what it says, where my relief had not arrived after my shift had ended, I would wait with the patient. Now remember to use this type of would words. would කියන එක පාවිච්චි කරන්න. ඔය අනාගතයේදී යම් කිසි දෙයක් කරන්න බලපන්. I would wait. මම මෙහෙම කරાવી. I will wait නෙමෙයි, I would wait with the patient. I could never leave someone in my charge. Now this is the procedure. This is the policy. You can't never leave someone in your charge unattended. There need to be some person in charge, right? So I would call my manager to make them aware of the situation. And if it seems my replacement won't be arriving, I would ask the company to send someone else to relieve me and stay with the patient until the issue is resolved, right? So it shows that you're very responsible. Yes, you're very responsible regarding the safety of the patients. That's more important. All right. So yeah. And so right. Okay. So yes. So those are the questions that we discussed today. And right. Do you have anything to ask from me? Anything that you wish? I mean, like anything regarding for this caregiver interviews and kind of this nursing interviews and all? Do you have anything to ask? So if it is there, so then I can answer for this type of questions. Right. The other thing is, but ඔයගොල්ලෝ අහන්න ඕනේ දැන් මම අද කරපු ටික ඔයගොල්ලන්ට help වුණාද නැත්නම් ඒක උදව්වක් වුණාද, ඒක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට හොඳයිද නැත්නම් ඊට ඒක එච්චරම ලොකු effect එකක් නැද්ද? So what are the comments about the session? Any good comments, any bad comments, any suggestions? මෙන්න මෙහෙම දේවල් ටිකක් අපිට තව ටිකක් ඉස්සරහට කියලා දෙන්න පුළුවන් නම් කියලා ඔයාලගේ මොන හරි suggestions තියනවද? So I'm just willing to have those suggestions from you because you are the one who know what you need. So I'm here to supply what you need, right? So what do you think about the session? ඔයාලා මොකද හිතන්නේ අද කරපු දේවල් ටික ගැන? හොඳයිද? ඒක වැඩක් වුණාද? වැඩක් නැද්ද? නැත්නම් තව මොනවද අපිට ඉස්සරහට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට උදව් වෙන දේවල් විදිහට තව මොනවද කරන්න පුළුවන්? Any type of response will be appreciated. Okay, yes, it's very useful. Okay, thank you so much for that comment. Right, I just want to know that the comments, because if it is not much helpful for yourself, I'm not doing such things in the class because I need to do something helpful for yourselves, right? If you need something, so then you can ask it, right? මම caregiver position එකේ working hour කීයද per week වැඩ කරන්න ඕනේ? Caregiver position එකේ hours කීයක් වැඩ කරන්න ඕනද? maximum මම දන්න විදිහට නම් 40 hours තමයි then eligible වෙන්නේ 40 hours වැඩ කරන්න පැය 40ක් සතියකට. මම දන්න විදිහට so I think you'll be given 40 hours to work. ඒතර ඔය 40 hours වලට ඇරෙන්න ඔයාට දැන් අර මම උගලන්නට කලින් කිව්වෙත් මගේ යාළුවෙක් ඉන්නවා කියලා. දැන් එයා නම් caregiver එයාගේ care home එකේ වැඩ කරන ගමන් එයාට සමහර off days තියෙනවානේ. දැන් patients ලා care home එකේ අඩුයි නම් එතකොට care assistants ලා ඔක්කොම ගෙන්නන්නේ නැහැ. දෙන්නෙක් එක්කෙනෙක් දැන් ගොඩාක් අයව බලා ගන්න ගොඩාක් අයව ගෙන්නන්න. එතකොට ගොඩක් off හම්බ වෙනවා. ඒක off හම්බුනාම නිකන් ඉන්න වෙනවනේ. එතකොට ඒ වගේ time එකට එයා කරන්නේ වෙන place එකකට ගිහිල්ලා වැඩ කරන it's not a nursing නෙමෙයි but shop එකක් හරි වෙන වැඩක් හරි වෙන part time job එකක් වගේ එහෙම ඔයගලන්ට කරන්න පුළුවන්. So you have that opportunity. Right, very important session. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for that comment, right? It was so. If we can do more interview questions, it will be helpful for us. Okay, yes. So without moving for the type of words and the grammar, yeah, it will be helpful to do some interview questions. Okay, so I'll make it happen, right? Thank you so much for that comment. It's very useful. Appreciate more questions if you can practice with us and the important protocol which practice in a care home. Okay, right. Right. So two of you are suggesting that it's very good to practice some questions and answers. So I just help in the front of the in the first hour. පොඩි වචන ටිකක් අරගෙන නේද ඒ ටික කොහොමද helpful වෙන්නේ කියන එක මම කතා කරේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට අර speaking එකට ඒ words උත් ඕන වෙයි කියලා බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන. So in the next session I will highly focus on to answer to discuss the questions and answers, and also I'll give the chance for you to speak as well. All right? Okay. So today's lesson is very crucial. I kindly appreciate your help for us. I like to your learning method, Miss. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you so much for that comment, Miss Delaney. It was so much for me. Thank you so much. Yes, okay, right. Okay, so yes, if you have some suggestions you can make, because I'm here to supply what you need. All right, so you can do, you can learn, you can practice. So we'll have another 2 sessions in the following weeks. නේද? තව සතියකින් දෙකකින් අපි තව තියමු interview section එක. So in there අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම interview questions අපි කතා කරමු සහ I'm going to give the chance for you to speak as well. මොකද මේ දවස් ටිකේම මමනේ කතා කරේ. Yes. So I'll give the chance for you to speak with me. All right? Okay. Right. So thank you very much, guys, who have been with us these 2 hours, right? Okay, so I hope that you have learned much of the things and you learned something, you just collected something to your mind, right? As an idea, we'll start simple questions that everyone can answer. Of course, yeah, that's a good idea. Yes. So if you can remember, I have started with those type of questions when I was doing the first session, like how to introduce yourselves and all, right? And the qualities, and then so as is the 4th section, I just focus on to the scenario based questions. Now from next session onwards, we'll focus on to some simple more questions, not for the type of the answers, but I'll give sort of questions for yourself, so then you can take chances to answer for those questions. Yeah, it is a good idea, right? Okay. Yes, okay. Yeah, so everyone is saying that thank you and no worries. I'm here to help you all. All right. So, all right. Okay, so then let's meet up again in another day. So I can promise what the day will be, but I will promise that I'll be with that one. I had an interview with UK. They asked what is this core values. They asked what is the core values. Core values means here that it means by the core values. ගොඩක් කියන්නේ core කියලා කියන්නේ main කියන එක, main values, the main type of the duties, the respect, the privacy, the protecting privacy, and yeah, those are the core values, I guess. So I don't know what type of an answer that you gave for them, but I wish all the luck for yourself, right? Yeah. So we'll discuss some more details about the core values on next session. Fine. Right. So thank you very much, guys. So then good night, all of you. Hope to see you again in another day. Till then, take care of you. Bye-bye. Hey, good night. Bye-bye. Hey, good night.